Good night. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. This is not a full blown program, but I just wanted to make a statement with regard to the continuation of harassment, the continued harassment and mistreatment of the Black people in Mocha by this apartheid regime. I'm really incensed, and I just wanted to make a statement about that, what happened today, and encourage people to go out and support the people of Mocha. So share the link, everybody. Get into your Guyanese group, you know the drill. Get into all your Guyanese groups. Each of you share this link to at least 20, 100, 50, how many other people. Share the link, get on my YouTube page, Rickford Burke on YouTube, subscribe. On Facebook, press the bell button so that you can get notification whenever I'm on. Like and subscribe there as well. Rather like and follow on Facebook as well. So share the link. I'll be right back in about 60 seconds. Share the link, everybody. Somebody said it's water more than corn flour. I don't know what that means. All right, so good night again. Welcome to Conversation with River Burke. This is a shortened edition, a special edition rather. So today I was at church, and so I didn't get to comment much about this issue. I did make some comments, but before I left, I received a call from Simona Brooms this morning, who told me that she was on the ground in Mocha, witnessing the goons of the People's Progressive Party government and the Guyana police force, or enabled and enforced by the Guyana police force, breaking down the pens for cattle in Mocha. They weren't satisfied that they went and they broke down the people's homes, destroyed the people's products, deliberately destroyed the lives of these Black people in Mocha. But today they went back to complete the task of completely destroying the lives of the people of Mocha, where they not only broke down the pens that house these people's pigs and goats and sheep and cows and livestock, but they killed some of these animals and buried them. They killed some of these animals, in particular pigs. There was a gentleman who had over 200 pigs. They completely destroyed his pig farm. And then they killed that excavator with the excavator, smashed his animals, and then dug mud up and buried them. There's a particular hatred inherent in this operation in Mocha. And it's being driven by the racism of Ali and Jack Dale and the cabal in the PPP. This is not just about moving a road, moving people so that they could accommodate a road. And it's fairly established that the road would not be passing where these people live. It would be passing in front of them, or in some cases behind them. But their homes are not in the path of the road or even the road shoulders that probably extend 200 feet out on each side. There's inherent evil and wickedness in what the government is doing, and it's to demonstrate that they're powerful, that they can dominate Black people, and to destroy the lives of the people in Mocha. That is the objective of this operation. It is criminal. It is against international law. Let's look at what this government has done to the people in Mocha and other Black villages. They flooded their farms. That's a crime against humanity. They've taken away their livelihoods. They've killed their livestock. They've killed the people's livelihood. They destroyed their homes, left children homeless. What I am seeing in Guyana looks to me like an Israeli operation in Palestine. That's what the PPP government is patterning this operation from. The PPP is acting like the Israeli government, smashing and killing and brutalizing and destroying and abusing the people of Mocha, their livestock and their livelihood. When you think about the fact that they not only broke down the homes of these people, but the furnishings that were in the homes, they broke them up. If they found a refrigerator in the house, they didn't allow the people to retrieve the refrigerator or the stove. One woman had a store. She had a wholesale beverage establishment. They not only broke up her store, but they went and smashed every cartoon of beer and shandy and Guinness and soda There's something inherently evil and wicked about what the PPP is doing to the people of Mocha. They don't want them to recover. They want these people's lives to be damaged, to be upended. They have a noose of subjugation, and they're choking the necks of the people of Mocha with it. They're just like the killers of George Floyd. One police officer kneeled on the back of a black woman, the same woman with the business establishment, and placed her face down in the mud, as if to kill her, just like how they killed George Floyd. There's something inherently evil and wicked about what the People's Progressive Party government is doing to the people of Mocha. They want to impoverish them. They want to leave them without a livelihood, without the ability of economic survival. There's something inherently wicked and evil about what the People's Progressive Party government is doing to the people of Mocha. And if the people of Mocha decide to retaliate against the police or the government, who could tell them that they are wrong? Or who could say that their cause is unjust or unjustified? I can't. Let me repeat that. If today the people of Mocha decide to retaliate against the People's Progressive Party government and against the police force, which is oppressing them, which are oppressing them, who could tell them that they're wrong? Who could tell them that their cause is unjust? Who could tell them that their actions will be unjustified? The People's Progressive Party government is courting a civil war. They want a war with Black people. They want a war with Black people. They want a war with Black people. They're rearing for a war, a confrontation, so that they could shoot down Black people like dogs, just like the Israelis shoot down and gun down the people of Palestine. That's what we have in Guyana. We have an Israeli-Palestinian problem. We have an apartheid regime trying to subjugate and extinct the Black people in Guyana. Systematically, they're going to Black villages and do exactly this. Every time the People's Progressive Party government is in power, their approach to Black communities is brute force and ignorant. Send the Guyana police force to shoot them out and kill them and subjugate them and destroy their lives and destroy their homes. That is the way they want to deal with Black people. I'm going to be very frank. Let's examine the history of conflict with the PP government and Black communities. In Linden in 2014, what did it? Well, even before that, in Buxton, they went into Buxton and broke down people's homes and shot and killed the young Black men. In Linden, when the people of Linden decided to protest an sudden and astronomical hike in the electricity bill, how did the PP government respond? They sent police officers of their Gestapo squad and shot and killed them. 3 protesters, including women, were shot and killed. Let's examine the West Coast Bobese community of Number 5 and Hope Town and Belladrum, those villages there, where the relatives and friends and neighbors of Isaiah and Joel Henry that were slaughtered by PPP supporters with the encouragement of the PPP, because the PPP up to now has not ensured there's justice for these double murders. Matter of fact, they're protecting the killers. One of the parents died from a heart attack, from the suffering and the injustice and the torture she's faced for speaking out for the death of her son. What did they do? They sent police and GDF officers up there and shot down those people who were grieving and protesting for justice. There is something inherently evil and wicked about how the People's Progressive Party government deals with Black people in Guyana. Let's move to another neighborhood. We've gone from Buxton to Linden to Hopetown, number 5, Belladrum. Now it's Mocha. And there's a different approach. Mocha is a very important village. It's strategically located in an important part of the country. They want to run a road there, and they're acting like if that's their concept. That concept was around since Desmond Hoyt was president of Guyana, when Stanley Ming and others drafted a development plan that included that same road, which would have been the continuation of the Soesdijk-Linden Highway straight out to the Rupert Craig Highway. So people, don't let the people fool you. This is not their idea. They're executing a plan from way back in Desmond Hoyt's time. And they know that the lands of Mocha, because that road is passing through there, becomes very important and very expensive real estate. That's why they want to remove those Black people from there, because in their judgment, Black people shouldn't own prime real estate. That's why they're trying to take away the lands from Black people who bought the estate properties, bought and leased. That's why they were trying to take back properties from Providence and Peters Hall from Black people who the former government sold them to. That's why they were trying to take away lands in MMA and West Coast Berbice from Black people. That's why Anil Nanlal told his PPP supporters to go and break down the fence of ancestral lands on the West Coast Berbice owned by Kojo McPherson's inheritance. They don't believe Black people should own prime real estate in Guyana. So now they're terrorizing and torturing and harassing and shooting and destroying the lives of the people of Mocha. There is something inherently evil about the way the People's Progressive Party government deals with the Black population of Guyana. And as far as I'm concerned, they're attempting to divide the country. It seems as though they want to chase Black people out of Guyana. That's the objective. They want to subjugate you and run you out of Guyana, oppress you, so that they could take over the country, them and their East Indian supporters. That's the objective as far as I'm concerned. They think that when their foreparents came from India, they came with Guyana in a grip from Calcutta or whichever part PPP supporters' foreparents came from. They don't recognize that the slaves built Guyana and that Black people are the inheritance of the slaves. As far as I'm concerned, there should be a law. There should be about a law regulating Black ancestral lands, just like they have a law regulating indigenous lands. The PPP doesn't have respect for Black people. The PPP only has contempt for Black people. And they only tolerate people like Mark Phillips and Hugh Todd and Onish Waldron and Joseph Hamilton and Kwame McCoy and Wana Jill. They only tolerate them because they need them for cosmetic purposes. They need the token Black folks to place them in cabinet as ornaments to the world. That yes, we have Black people in the cabinet too. Do they respect them? No. Do these Black people in the PPP cabinet respect themselves? No. Do they represent Black people of Guyana? No. There's something inherently evil and wicked about how the People's Progressive Party government deals with the Black population of Guyana. They're rearing for a confrontation. They're rearing for civil unrest so they could send their goons and the police force to gun you down, just like they did to the people of Linden. just like they did to the people of Buxton, just like they did to the people of Golden Grove on the East Coast, just like they did to the people of the West Coast Berbice. Even if they were grieving the double murder of their son and uncle and cousins and neighbors. What the People's Progressive Party government is doing to the people of Mocha is exactly what the people, those racists in number 5 did to Isaiah and Joel, killing their lives. The People's Progressive Party, as a matter of fact, I want to quote the Starbuck News today, the editorial, that said the People's Progressive Party is behaving like all other Guyanese are living in their Guyana. That's what the Starbuck News. The PPP believes that Black people are living and inhabiting the PPP's Guyana. And they have a strategy of attacking people like me that point out their racism. They say, we're racist. How dare you Black people talk about us being racist? We're superior. We believe in East Indian ethnic supremacy. So you have to listen to what we say and stay quiet, else we're going to send Hicken and the police force to gun you down. There's something inherently evil about what the People's Progressive Party is doing to Guyana. They're pushing Black people to the brink. And they believe that this is the 1960s, when they were able to burn Black people out of their homes and their villages and shot us like dogs in the streets. Shot and chop. And they believe that comments like the ones that I just made are inciting racial hostility. Well, damn it. What do you think what they're doing to Black people in Mocha is doing? Isn't that inciting racial hostility? Or should I be corrected to say only the supreme East Indians are entitled to incite racial hostility against Black people? Who kills people's livestock and buries them alive? Sorry, who kills people's livestock and buries some of the live ones alive, the living ones alive? Who does that? Unless you're inherently depraved. And Orphan Ali said that he wanted to show strength in dealing with the people of Mocha because he don't want the people to think he's soft. It is a personal thing. He thinks he's a king. He thinks he's a monarch, and he has to demonstrate, like the Saudi prince, who they're trying to emulate their lifestyle after, that he is not soft. Maybe he has a psychological condition about a reality in his life about something being soft. Again, let me ask this question. Who floods people's farms? Who brutally knocks down people's homes while dragging them through the mud and firing gunshots at them? Why? Because all they're doing is living somewhere that the government wants to take for themselves and their East Indian supporters. I was told that the people of Mocha, the lands that they occupy, were actually streamlined for regularization under the coalition government. Some people, a lot of people got their transports. So where does Colin Crowell get off telling people that it is reserved that they're living on when the previous government was regularizing those lands? And even if they're living on government reserve, do you have to shoot them? Do you have to break their homes down? Do you have to break up their furnishings? Do you have to destroy their products if they're business owners? No, but there's something depraved about the PPP, members of the PPP, when it comes to Black people. They grew up, they were taught to hate us. Everything that is happening in Mocha is driven by hatred for Black people. I'm not mincing my words tonight. What we're seeing in Mocha is a repeat of what we see with Israel and Palestine. The PPP is like the Israeli government driving the Palestinians out of their own land. It's called apartheid. I want to ask the question again. And let this question disrupt your mental cycle for the rest of the day. Who floods people's farms with their vegetables that they have to sell at the market? With bananas ripe and ready to be picked? With provision ready to be reaped? Who floods people's farms so that they cannot sell their products? All in the name of development? What can anybody tell me, any government in the world that deliberately sabotage their citizens by flooding their towns and their villages? Who does that? Can anybody identify one government in the world that slaughters people's livestock? And the ones that they didn't get to kill, they bury them alive. Which government in the world does that? Let that sink into your psyche. And understand the potential for another kind of atrocity when the People's Progressive Party government will begin to kill those people in Mocha and bury them alive in graves like they're doing in Russia, like Russia is doing to the people of Ukraine. That is the element of depravity that we're seeing from the People's Progressive Party government. I don't care what they say about how compassionate they are. Depraved. Depraved. These are madmen driven by hate and greed. They do not believe that Black people must benefit from anything in Guyana, nothing. They're not willing to concede 1 inch of survival for Black people in Guyana. And so they run around and pay off some of these young Black folks to say all kinds of things, and they grant concession to some. Because the world is beginning to see that this is being driven by greed and hatred. Greed that they want to consume every penny of the country, and hatred for Black people that we must not own anything or get anything from that country that our ancestors built. What else could explain Mocha? What else could explain Mocha? And then the president and the minister of housing lied to the nation and said the people who are remaining there don't want to move. It is a lie. People want to be justly compensated. People don't want the government arbitrarily tell them, your house is worth $8 million and that's what we'll give you, and you must only be able to live at Herstilling or farm, while they move all of their East Indian supporters in strategic positions on the East Coast so that they could reap the political and electoral benefits from that, the re-engineering of the population. That's what this is about too. Do you think that they had to kill those people's pigs and cow and sheep? No. Do you think they had to drag that woman through the mud? No. Do you think they had to break the bridges to the farmlands and to the homes? No. Do you think they had to flood the people's farms? No. Who does that? Human beings don't live like that. But they did it to demonstrate power, dominance, that they could do whatever they want because they have the armed forces backing them. There's something inherently evil and wicked about how the PPP, People's Progressive Party regime, that apartheid regime, that racist regime, that most oppressive anti-Black regime in the Western Hemisphere, there's something inherently evil and wicked about how they deal with the Black population of Guyana. And I ask again, if today the people of Mocha decide to retaliate for this evil and the atrocity and the abuse and the mistreatment, who can tell them that their cause is not just or justified? Who? Who, in or out of Guyana, can look at what is going on in Mocha and say that the People's Progressive Party is not inciting a civil war? Who can look at every single instant of a conflict with Afro-Guyanese and see how the People's Progressive Party has dealt with them and say the People's Progressive Party is not inciting a civil conflict with Black people, the Black population of Guyana? Who can look at how the People's Progressive Party government is refusing to deal with political representatives, elected representatives of the Black population, and say that the People's Progressive Party is not seeking to have an armed confrontation with the Black population of Guyana? Because whenever people protest their discriminatory actions against Black people, they invoke the police force. They dispatch armed police officers with tear gas and guns to shoot you down. There's something inherently evil and wicked about the abuse and mistreatment of Afro-Guyanese by this racist People's Progressive Party government, and it must stop. It must stop. As far as I'm concerned, the People's Progressive Party is deliberately mistreating Black people because they want to force us out of the country. They want to divide the country physically. And at some point in time, I maintain, my view is, do we have to have a conversation of whether or not the People's Progressive Party must take their supporters and go on one half of the country? It is clear that they don't want to live with us. It is clear that the People's Progressive Party believes that we are slaves, that Guyana is a plantation, and they are the slave masters. It is clear that Orphanali believe that he's a slave master and that Black people must be mistreated or whipped. When I saw the police operation in Mocha, it conjured up in my mind what I've read about American history, with racist police officers with guns and billy clubs whipping Black people in the South and other parts of the United States. That's what the police was doing. And if they had dogs, they would have loosed their dogs on those Black people in Mocha. There's no question about that. There is something inherently evil and wicked about how the People's Progressive Party government deals with Black people in Guyana, and it must stop. And currently, this government is the head of the CARICOM. The president of Guyana is chair of the CARICOM Heads of Government Conference until next year. When every day they're violating not only international law, but the very CARICOM Charter of Civil Societies. They're violating the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. They do not believe that the people of Mocha and African Guyanese are entitled to dignity and humanity. That's why they went to the United Nations and voted against a resolution to end racial discrimination around the world. That's why they refused to go to the Geneva Conference. to discuss the suffering of the people of African descent around the world and strategies to eliminate discrimination against people of African descent. What we are seeing in Guyana is the PPP reenacted the slave trade. What we're seeing in Guyana is the People's Progressive Party acting like the government of Israel, slaughtering and abusing the Palestinians. I'm not getting into the politics of Palestine and Israel. I am talking about the actions, this military action of going and bombarding Palestinians. Whether or not it's justified is not my concern. That's not what the discussion is about. The discussion is about the mistreatment of human beings. And that's what the comparison is about. It cannot be justified. The People's Progressive Party has committed crimes against humanity in Mocha. Several crimes. Flooding farms, that's a crime against humanity. Depriving people of a livelihood, that's a crime against humanity. By flooding those farms, they're inviting a health crisis. That's a crime against humanity. By slaughtering people's animals, that's a crime against humanity. By tearing down people's homes and breaking up everything they've lived for. What you see in people's homes, that's their earnings over decades. When you destroy somebody's farm and somebody's cattle and somebody's home and somebody's business establishment, you're depriving them of the ability to live. You're depriving them of a livelihood. You're driving them into poverty. You're impoverishing them. And when you do it to a whole class of people, you're committing economic genocide. There's nobody of good conscience in the PPP that could say to them, what you're doing in Mocha is wrong. Mark Phillips, he had the audacity the other day to ask why I'm not speaking out because the PNC treasurer resigned. Well, why isn't Mark Phillips, as a black man, speaking out about the atrocities in Mocha? Mark Phillips must tell us whether or not he agrees that the people's home must be bulldozed and their furnishings destroyed and their products that they sell in their business establishments destroyed and their cattle buried alive. Mark Phillips must tell us whether or not he endorses that. And if that's one Guyana. Now let's look at how the PPP deals with Indian squatters. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the people in Mocha are not squatting because that's their land. And the previous government has said that they attempted or they started to regularize those lands. Their ancestral lands. The slaves bought Mocha. Blood, sweat, and tears of black people bought Mocha that the People's Progressive Party government now is trying to covet for their rich East Indian business friends. I agree with the opposition leader that a few years from now or even next year, we're going to see East Indians who support the PPP occupying the same corridor along that new road through Mocha that this government is chasing those people up. I hope the people of Mocha would not allow them to do that. I hope the people of Mocha would not allow them to do that. I am not anti. By the way, before I go on to that, I started to deal with how they treat East Indian squatters. Pigeon Island, West Coast. Look how they dealt with Monrepo. The people in Monrepo committed a crime. They broke down government structure, state property, and the government went and apologized and gave them money and built it back. Because they're East Indians. They're human beings. They have dignity and they have humanity, not black people. We have to talk about these things. And all those middle-class Black people who sit in their homes and look at some of us with scorn. Oh, why they're protesting? How dare them tell the police? And now, how dare these people go and squat and expect the government to keep them there? And go to hell. Seriously. Because the gains that these poor people struggle will reap, you will benefit too. It is equally disgusting that we have people in civil society in Guyana of all races silent. Oh, I'm not political. I don't want to comment on the politics. That in itself is inhumane. That in itself is it. Everybody needs to speak up when there's atrocity. And if the government is mistreating Black people in Mocha, they're mistreating Black people everywhere in Guyana. If the government is contemptuous of the Black people at Golden Grove and Hope Town and Number 5 and Buxton and Golden Grove, they're contemptuous of Black people everywhere in Guyana. And we must treat the government like if they're mistreating every person. And even East Indians of conscience, good conscience, should speak out. I admired a young man the other day who spoke out about the government giving a furnished home to East Indian squatters and just dash some Black people in Linden in a thing with no furniture. One person could barely turn around in the structure. I heard the government went today to fix it because the young man spoke out. We need more people to speak out. How can our East Indian brothers and sisters watch on their television screens or their smartphones what is going on in Mocha, unless they're inherently racist themselves like the people in the PPP, and accept that? And then Colin Crowell and the president got and said, oh, we give them notice to move, we offer them somewhere to live, we offer them a farm. My fellow Guyanese, if you destroy somebody's farm at Mocha, destroy their home, ask them to move to her selling or farm the village, undervalue their structure. If the structure is worth $14 million and the government think it's worth 9, that's what you're getting. But if you are earning from the land, you're a farmer, or you have cattle, and the government decides to kill them and bury them, destroy your farm by flooding it. When you move to farm or horse selling, how are you going to live? How are you going to start this farm on the Soos-Dyke-Linden Highway? How are you going to get to Linden Highway if you don't have a vehicle? How are you going to start this farm when the government, number one, the government did not even identify a place for this farm to be? So let's say they finally identify a place for this farm to be. Who will fence the farm? Who will plow the land for you to plant? Where would you get your seedlings from and seeds and your irrigation and your equipment and your tool? How would this farm be operationalized? How would you build this structure on this land they're giving you at Herstelling or farm? Will the government give you money to maintain your family for that 6 months, 8 months, 1 year while this construction is going on and you don't have anything to earn? Will the government give you a vehicle to drive from Herstelling all the way to the Soos-Dyke Highway to so-called plant this farm? These are serious issues that the government has not addressed. They said that they're willing to put these people in some homes that they've constructed that are empty. Are they going to furnish the home? They've destroyed all of the people's belongings. The people don't have clothes. They don't have pots and pans. They don't have food items. Will the government give them all of those things? It is all well and good to sit in an office and say, oh, we've given them a house and we've given them land and we've given them farm. But in reality, how are you helping the people whose lives you've just destroyed? How are they going to survive for the next year and a half because of your destruction of their lives? What are they going to do? How are they going to take their children to school? How are they going to buy uniform for their children? How are they going to furnish this house? How are they going to get to their farms? How are they going to operationalize this resettlement? Well, of course, according to the government, they're Black people. They got to figure that out. I want to end by saying this, and thank you guys. It's Saturday night. I know everybody's busy. Thank you guys for listening. There's something inherently wrong with the way, inherently evil, wrong, and wicked about the way the government deals with Black people in Guyana. And if the government continues like this, we will have a civil war. We will have a 1963 again in Guyana. I am not proposing one. I am not engendering one. I don't want one to happen. But in a society where there's such a cycle of oppression and disrespect and abuse and mistreatment, it will lead to violence. It will lead to violence in every country, even the most developed country, the United States. We have riots because of these socioeconomic problems and racism and abuse and mistreatment of people. The government is completely unconcerned that they're courting a war. Completely. They're the proverbial ostrich with his head in the sand. Oh no, all these Black people and the Indians are living fine. We could abuse them from now till tomorrow. They know that we're gonna send Higgins to shoot them down with the police force, so they're not gonna retaliate. That's the government's approach. So we deny mistreating the people of Mocha. We deny racism. We deny. We don't care what you say. The sky is blue. No, the sky is pink because the PPP says that. We are superior. And we say the sky is pink and the entire Black population must go with that, or else we will send Hicken and his force to shoot you down. That's the reality in Guyana. That's the reality in Guyana. And I want to know why Black people in Guyana and Indians and Amerindians who don't support the atrocities, why are they silent? Why are they not standing up? Why aren't we seeing them expressing their anger in the streets, protesting against the government? I keep saying, don't reach to us in the diaspora. We will support you. That's all we could do. We live here. There is something inherently wrong with the People's Progressive Party government, People's Progressive Party government's approach to dealing with the people, Black people in the country. It is evil. It is ruthless. It is atrocious. It is depraved. It is inhumane. It is criminal. It is egregious. And we must address it. We must address it. We can no longer keep our head in the sand. We can no longer pretend that this government is not an apartheid regime. We can no longer pretend that the government is not treating these people like they're Palestinians. We can no longer pretend that this government is not acting like the apartheid South African government. We can no longer pretend that this government doesn't believe in the rights of Black people. We can no longer pretend that this government wants to leave the Black population behind. This government does not believe that Black people should be part of the development and advancement of the country. We can't pretend that anymore. It is right there facing us as the reality. That woman being pinned in the mud should be the symbol of Black struggle so long as the PPP remain in power. That photograph of Siobhan being brutalized by PPP agents should be the face of the struggle, the Black struggle against this oppressive, racist, apartheid PPP regime. Let that be the symbol. And then let me end by saying this. I heard today, not I heard only, I have evidence of how abusive the Ministry of Housing is to these people. One young woman, 23 years old, who has a snacket, went to the ministry, and the person she dealt with was asking her how she could sell things out of that. And with her level of education, she would never buy from something like that. And she don't know what you call that thing. That's the indignity Black people have to suffer under the People's Progressive Party. It is time for action. It's time for action. We have to build a resistance movement. We can no longer allow Black people to be abused like this. The PPP has crossed the line, a red line. We should all be disgusted. And I see people crying. No, no, I refuse to cry at the atrocity that the PPP. That's what they want us to do. They want us to cry and feel that we're defeated. You're not defeated. We are the inheritance and the descendants. We're the inheritance of the land that our foreparents, our ancestors fought for and bought with their sweat and tears and blood. We cannot give it up to apartheid racists. There's something inherently evil about the way the People's Progressive Party deals with Black people in Guyana. And Black people and people of goodwill from other races, whether it's Chinese or Portuguese or Indians or Amerindians or the mixed race, must stand up and put it to an end. Black people must stand up and protect and defend their dignity. And those Black cops that the PPP is using to brutalize other Black people, we will call you out. Yes, you're a part of a disciplined service and you follow orders, but you don't have to be abusive. Those police officers who abused Siobhan and that officer that kneeled in her back and put her face in the mud should not be comfortable going back to his community. Let him go and live at Freedom House. Let him go and live by your finale. Let him go and live by the police commissioner. He should not be comfortable living back in a community among Black people that he's abusing. I am not calling for violence against anybody. Don't get me wrong, or don't misquote me. But we have to find a way to stop this abuse. We have to. How long more? How many more Black villages? How many more Siobhans? How many more Black mothers? How many more Black business people? How many more Black farmers' cattles? How many more Black farmers must suffer at the hands of this government? How much more? When is too much too much? When is too much too much? We are in the diaspora. We have inherent freedoms. We live in a society that observes the democratic ethos and principles. We cannot but speak out against those atrocities. We are oriented that way. We're not intimidated by the Guyana police force, even when they issue wanted bulletins for us without justification or lawful authority. We must no longer accept this abuse. No longer must Guyanese accept the abuse of Black people by this government. It is unconscionable. It is lawless. They're acts of criminality. They're international crimes. You have a right to stand up. You have a right to stand up and fight them. We are descendants of the indomitable slaves that fought and defeated slavery. The PPP are no match for slavery. There's no way we should sit down and allow the PPP to perpetuate their racism and apartheid governance. We must defeat it, just like our foreparents defeated slavery. Thank you.